he denies Jesus 3 times. In Jesus' worst moment, the time that a friend needed a friend, Peter denied him. Publicly, openly, 3 times. The question is, what did Jesus do once he sees Peter again? Because we know the entire story. He goes through trial, he gets put on the cross, he takes his last breath, he says it's finished, and then he gets put in a tomb, but on the 3rd day he comes back to life. What happens when he sees Peter for the very first time? Because the story says that they show up, he takes Peter to breakfast, and he has a conversation with Peter. What was the conversation like? I know what my conversation would have been like. If I was Jesus, when I saw Peter, I'd have been like, oh, now you show up. Now of course, you're here now, of course, right? I knew I couldn't count on you. I told you you weren't gonna hang around. I can't count on you because you're an Enneagram 6, and 6s always run when it gets hard. I knew it. Delete you from Facebook, delete you from Instagram, scroll past all your pictures. I'm not gonna text you back for at least 4 hours. I'm gonna keep you waiting. But you know what happened? The exact opposite. Jesus shows up and he asks one simple word. Do you love me? After the greatest failure in the history of the Bible, he never brought it up. He just looked at his friend and he said, do you still love me, man? What is that? Grace, grace, grace. The regret that Peter had was reset with grace. Some of you walked into this building this weekend with tons of regrets. You tried to pay for Christmas on a credit card because you were trying to buy happiness. And now you have a mound of debt. You bought the house that you can't afford. You bought the boat that you shouldn't have. Or you're living paycheck to paycheck and you regret that you haven't done better for yourself. Some of you have neglected a relationship, your spouse, your kids, a mom, a dad, and you're asking yourself, how did we get to this place full of regrets, shame, and guilt? Some of you, this is the year you said you were going to overcome that addiction, that thing that's got a grip on your life, and you vowed, but you're still struggling with that same addiction, and you feel the regret and the shame and the guilt and the pain. But I came to remind you this weekend that we serve a God of grace. We don't serve a God of judgment or condemnation. He's not pointing back to your sin. He's pointing forward, and he's here this weekend. And if you can just slow down for a moment and hear his voice, he is saying to you, in the middle of your mess, in the middle of your pain, in the middle of your regrets, in the middle of your discouragement, he's saying one thing. Do you still love me? Why? Because it's the grace of God. It's the acceptance of God. When I was a kid, my mom used to sing this song, and I thought it was just what all black mothers do, is sing Amazing Grace. How great the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Has anybody heard that song before? When I was a kid, I just thought, well, that's a pretty song. But when I got to be 35, 45, and almost 50, I realized amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. It's the love of God, the unconditional love of God. We need to accept grace. Whatever the situation is, don't look back, look forward. And know God says you have grace applied to your life.